Yes. And when it is too late to turn back now, we talk to the director of the Division of Child Support Services, Ted Murmagos, and try to square away your child support issue. Ted, is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
Ted, welcome back. I can't tell you how much this segment has meant to me and the radio station, being able to provide this service to the community, give them access to your office and help resolve issues that they're hurting children. And that's really what it's all about. And you have been so generous with your time, and I wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you. You know, Jake, we certainly, and I certainly appreciate being provided the opportunity to speak to folks here in Sussex County and part of Kent County now about child support in Delaware. And I, you know, we talk a little bit about this off air. I think we both can agree we love when the telephone calls come in because it gives obviously the person who's calling an opportunity to raise a concern or a question that I hope I can answer. But if they're asking it,
other people are asking it too.
They had that.
You know?
There's
right.
Those questions are out there about how child support works in Delaware. You know, our role as the child support agency here in the state. But there's also the entity, you know, the family court plays obviously a significant role. And even though I don't represent the court, you know, we have a lot of interaction with them. And
they couldn't do their job without you. I mean, let's face it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we play a big role in what the family court does. But they certainly, you know, they have litigants that are coming in all the time filing certain things. But, you know, but this gives us an opportunity to share with folks here in Delaware, you know, what child support's all about and hopefully helping them maneuver through it. Sometimes what is a very difficult situation.
If you have a question for Ted Murmagos, the director of the Division of Child Support Services, Ted is available to answer your child support questions right now, 302-945-9292 on the Lewis Meineke Doing Car Care Right talk line. Whether you know someone who's having an issue, perhaps your child, you're a grandparent, there's an issue. We've gotten, Ted, calls from grandparents who had issues that they wanted to resolve and wanted to talk about on behalf of their child. But 302-945-9292 is our number here at the Talk of Delmarva. Ted, we continue to get emails in from listeners who want to get access. You take care of the question, but these are good questions. I like to read these, leaving the names out because, again, as you mentioned, these are situations that other people are experiencing. And the fact of the matter is, you've mentioned the last couple of times you've been in that custody, not custody, but
paternity.
Paternity. I'm sorry, paternity.
Yep.
Paternity is a big issue today.
Yes.
And we got an email just yesterday from someone, and I'm not going to say their name. They just had a baby girl on the 19th of May. Congratulations. They want to put the child's father put on notice that they should be paying child support, but he has not yet signed the birth certificate because he did not have his ID for the notary when we were at the hospital, and he is taking his time. So they want to know how this should be handled, what you could do to assist. Go ahead.
So in Delaware and in every state around the country, we have what we call our hospital voluntary acknowledgement of paternity program. So when when a child is born here in Delaware and the child is born out of wedlock between parties that are not married, we have a representative in the hospital maternity wards.
Really?
Yeah, that actually will talk about the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity process. And that's what this writer is referring to.
Okay.
Someone approached them about
signing. And they're a notary, obviously, I guess, right?
Well, right, yes. Yeah. Yes, sorry, yeah. And so that person can notarize the document for them. But he did. The non-custodial parent did not have his driver's license, and that's something that's needed. But we will go over that process, and it's a very simple process: just signing, acknowledging I am the biological parent of this child,
and I accept responsibility.
And I accept responsibility.
That's what it's about.
And that document is then filed with the Office of Vital Statistics, free of charge. It's all done. No one charges to notarize it. That part is free also. So it's a simple way. It's an expensive way
to establish
paternity for that child. So in this case, the non-custodial parent failed to take his responsibility in doing that. So I reached out to her, and told her that she can contact our child support office. I sent her a child support application so that she can apply for child support services in Delaware. The first step that has to happen in all child support cases is that paternity has to be established. So the courts will not create a court order until that paternity process has been resolved.
Well, can that be ordered by the court?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that was my next question.
The courts can, in a hearing, the non-custodial parent can acknowledge right there in front of the family court commissioner that I am the biological parent, and they can just put it in and they can adjudicate it in an order. They can order genetic testing be done. And then once that process is completed, the parties come back to court and they create a child support order. But
paternity has to be established.
Yes. And oftentimes custodial parents worry about, is it going to drag on? How long am I going to have to wait for child support?
Right.
The courts, if they have to order genetic testing, will go back from the date that petition was filed.
Right.
So sometimes...
So the court's saying basically, you're making us do this, but you knew you were the parent. You should have acknowledged responsibility for that child day one.
Exactly. Right? And sometimes non-custodial parents say, well, I'm going to try and skip out on that genetic testing appointment, or I'm going to drag this on. It's not worth it because it goes right back to the original date that petition was filed at family court. So it's better to get on board and have that genetic testing done, or sign that voluntary acknowledgement of paternity form sooner rather than later. The one thing about the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity process, it's voluntary. If anyone says, I may not be the biological father, we don't want them signing that.
Right.
We'd rather do a genetic test and have that determine whether you are
But there are some people that say, you know what, I love this baby and I'm with this woman and I want to build a life with this woman and I'm going to accept this child as my child. You've seen that, Ted, correct?
Yeah, yes, I have. Yes, I have. And that's it. And that's, in my mind, that's a good thing too. You know?
302-945-9292. Do you have any questions for Ted Murmagos, the Director of the Division of Child Support Services? Ted is here to answer your questions. Perhaps there's a paternity issue or question out there as well. Ted, we received another email, and the email said, please help. But that's what you do, right? You help.
Yep.
And here's what the email said. I found this email on the child support website, on your department's website. I've been trying to apply and cannot for the life of me figure it out online. I was hoping to be able to pick up an application PR. I'm not sure what that means. Have one mailed to me. I'm sorry. I have called the office, but it is just the answering service, not an actual human. Could you now give me some insight on how to go about this? Well, I can assure you, sitting across from Ted, he is an actual human.
Right.
And Ted received your email, and I'm sure he's already followed up.
Yeah, and I reached out to her, and so the first things first. On our website, if someone needs a paper application sent to them, it does go to like a voicemail.
Right.
We check that voicemail, and then we send people applications. But in this particular case, I downloaded the application from the website and sent it to her in an email. One of the things, Jake, that we don't talk a lot about is the state of Delaware, the Department of Technology and Information, is creating this new portal for all, and they're working gradually to let all of the state agencies have their website as part of this portal. It's called my.delaware.gov.
Okay.
And we, as the child support agency, we've already had a customer website where people can create a username and password, and they can actually log into like various pieces of our child support system. So let's say a non-custodial parent needs an account statement. They don't have to come to our office anymore.
They can get they can access it on the portal.
On the portal.
Okay.
So I'm also encouraging people who are looking for a more interactive relationship with the child support program to sign up for my.delaware.gov.
Okay.
They can download that customer website for child support customer website.
Right.
Or, and in this person's case, they can actually download an online application. So they can sit home in the comfort of their own home, complete the application, and submit it to us electronically. And it comes to our office, and we have workers, child support specialists, that download it into our child support system, and it creates that child support case right then and there.
We would be happy to create and produce a public service announcement that will run on 92.7 and 98.5 that alert people to the existence of the portal and the fact that they can use it. So you and I can talk about that privately.
That would be great. So, I'm always encouraging people, my.delaware.gov. I'm going to try. I've been trying to reach someone at the Department of Technology and Information. They may not be ready to kind of roll this out. Maybe I'm.
But it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. Maybe I'm preempting their.
Ted is way ahead of his time with regard to this kind of thing. Ted, you're actually going to be going to speak to a group of directors like yourselves from all over the country, telling them about the ways in which the radio segment that you do here on Delmarva Live, how you have brought child support services into the 21st century. And there were a lot of people who really were interested in what and how you've been doing this with radio and so forth. Tell us about what you're going to be doing.
Well, and I hope my colleagues around the country aren't listening to what I have to say, but a lot of them are a little leery, Jake, about doing something like this,
Right.
And what I'm going to be doing in early July is participating in a presentation to them about public engagement and taking risks.
Right.
And talking to people in places that they go about child support. And, this radio station obviously has taken this on every month, and this is going to be a big part of my discussion because, it's something that I think, and I would like to encourage others to take advantage of. Quite honestly, when we look at child support cases around the country, those cases are in child support agencies that have those cases, the case numbers are dropping. So we kind of have to find ways to reach people, to let them know that, hey, child support is here. If you need this service, this is how you get a hold of us, and this is some of the things that we do for you. So,
and you know what, Ted, I think you've answered a lot of questions from men that feel that the system is not fair to them, and you've given them the platform to express what they're feeling and what. And in some cases, you have given men some very valuable information on how to defend themselves with them not being treated fairly.
Well, and Jake, oftentimes we talk about, and I'm on the record as saying, if you can't afford to pay what the order is, pay what you can pay.
Right.
Just recently, I did receive some feedback from a custodial parent that's not very happy that I say stuff like that I'm encouraging people not to follow the court order. I mean, obviously, if they're working,
life happens, right?
Yeah.
Life happens.
If they're working, we'll send a wage withholding to their employer for what the court-ordered amount is. But if someone's not working, and this is what I wrote back to this custodial parent saying, I say this because it's better and it's...
better to make a good faith effort. The court looks at that. You've said that in the past, right?
And it's in my opinion, I would think the custodial parent would want something other than nothing. So it's so important to try to get that message out there that we want to work with non-custodial parents, and it's probably even more important for us to want to work with non-custodial parents to gain their compliance and trust. That's a big thing for us.
Yeah, I understand.
Trust in the child support system.
Our guest is Ted Myrmegos, the director of the Division of Child Support Services. The third Wednesday of every month, Ted is here with us taking your calls, your emails at jake.smith@wgmd.com, 302-945-9292 on the Talk of Delmarva. We'll be talking more with Ted Myrmegos. Any calls or questions out there, email or call us right now on the Talk of Delmarva, 92.7, 98.5. Please stay with us. All right, let's talk to our good friend Ted Myrmegos, the director of the Division of Child Support Services. Max, do we still have that caller on hold? Is that a yes? Caller, are you there? Is that caller there? Snurdly, it doesn't. Okay. Max rang the bell indicating a caller, but it doesn't appear that caller's there. So, Ted, getting back to what we were talking about before with the family courts, I think that's what scares people quite a bit is dealing with the court, going to court, the family court.
Right.
But the problems really happen when you don't make that good faith effort to make a payment, any type of payment, correct?
Exactly. I mean, if you're not going to make your child support payments, the odds that you're going to have a difficult experience at family court go up. They go up.
They increase. Okay.
So you need to try and make consistent payments and make them as ordered by the family court, and things will work out to your benefit. You don't want to make the courts upset that you're not following their court orders.
And that is that obviously is the most important thing, making that good faith effort to comply with the court order. Let's go to our next caller on the Lewis Meineke Doing Car Care Right Talk line for Ted Myrmagos, the Director of the Division of Child Support Services. Caller, you're on the air with Ted right now.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. I wondered why when a baby is born and there's only the mother DNA that you have, why you can get the DNA from the baby for the father. Why isn't that done and the father contacted?
So
good question.
Yeah,
good question.
So and I'm not a scientist, so I'll try to.
But you play one on TV, right?
So I mean, when we there is some issues related to due process and that kind of thing. So ultimately, when we or the courts schedule somebody for genetic testing, it's not only the mom, the potential father, but it's also the child that goes and has this genetic testing done. They do it with a swab of the cheek, and those samples for Delaware are sent away to a laboratory, and the lab will determine relatively pretty quickly a certain percentage that the genetic DNA.
Yeah, like there's an 80% chance that
higher than that.
Oh, really?
99 point. It sounds 99.999. If that comes out, you're the biological father.
Right, and you can't say I've never seen this woman before in my life. Right. That's what it comes down to.
When they actually do the genetic testing, they're taking pictures of everybody. Actually with a Polaroid. So they got the picture. They got the picture right there that shows this is the mom and the baby who showed up for genetic testing, and this is who the putative father is who showed up for genetic testing.
Wow.
And that document, that paperwork follows them all the way to family court. So there's no funny business going on, and the correct people were tested and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, that was a good question.
It was a good question.
That was a good
so
question.
they will test all three parties and all the children involved.
Let's go to our next caller on the Lewis Meineke Doing Car Care Right Talk line for Ted Myrmagos, the Delaware Director of the Division of Child Support Services. Go ahead. You're live with Ted.
Yes, hi. My name is Miriam Majid, and I'm calling in from El Paso, Texas. How are you today?
How are things in El Paso?
Oh, it's very hot.
I can imagine.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mary.
Well, I was just calling in. So my case is fairly old. It's still going on. My son is 33 years of age, and I've been fighting this case since he was 10 years old, and I came from Germany with the military with his father at that time. And so up until the age of 10, there was no child support at all. And then once I ended up going to court and got the paternity testing done, and of course he was 99.99, the father of my son, which we both knew, but he was ordered to pay child support, and I have yet to fight this case, and he's in the arrears, like most gentlemen are in some cases. Because it's an out-of-state case, from the state of Texas through Delaware, I've been having a really hard time. I guess, I don't know if he's not getting garnishments or what's going on, but the state of Texas basically tell me to call back every 90 days, and I've been doing that for the last almost 30 years now.
Oh, my gosh.
Still no results.
That's a long time.
I haven't received any feedback from Delaware at all, so I have no idea of what's going on with the case at all.
Well, I really appreciate you calling, especially from Texas, and we often talk about what your type of a case, which is an intergovernmental case, and with the non-custodial parent residing here in the state of Delaware, and you're living in Texas. You just like you mentioned, you work through the child support agency in Texas, and we communicate with them as it relates to any statuses on your particular case here in the state of Delaware. I can tell. I can tell from your scenario. I think you also participated in our Facebook Live event and had some similar questions about the non-custodial parent. And I did take a look at your particular case and have been communicating with our worker. Did you join us our last Facebook Live event the first Monday of the month?
No.
No? Okay.
No, sir. No, I haven't.
Okay, so I'm sorry about that. So So when we're dealing with non-custodial parents that live here in Delaware, we treat that case like it's an in-state case because the non-custodial parent's here. So I'm hoping that our child support system was able to help us pinpoint an employer. If not, we'll probably have that case in a locate situation where we're trying to nail down where he may live, where he's working. And if we do find that information, we would issue a wage withholding to that employer, especially if there's a court order already in place for child support.
Mary, can I ask
right,
you,
yeah,
what is
they
his...
were saying when I called in that he relocated, and they did find an employer just recently in New York. So he lives in Brooklyn, New York now, but for some reason the garnishment is not going through with the employer not enforcing it, but they did send it to him. That's the last call, that I spoke to here in Texas with someone.
Yeah, and ma'am, I am familiar with your case because this is the same scenario I was looking at earlier this week with the child support specialist. So I can tell you this, that the worker has when we send a wage withholding to an employer and they don't honor that wage withholding, we send them basically a letter that says, we sent this to you, you haven't complied with it. What's the situation? You haven't responded back to us that the non-custodial parent is no longer employed with your company. You haven't given us an update. Right. So the worker has followed back up with that employer in New York to find out, hey, is he still employed there? And what I actually told the worker to do was just go ahead and send another wage withholding. Don't waste time sending a letter. Make sure you send another wage attachment too, just because if it's a large company, did it get lost in the shuffle?
Right. And I really appreciate you guys doing as much as you can. I know there's thousands of other cases. I'm not the only one, so it's an ongoing thing. But I really appreciate it. I thought I'd call in just to see. I was a little curious to see what kind of...
Mary, can I ask you a couple of questions? What was his given reason for not supporting his son for over 30 years?
Well, I was very young. He was my first boyfriend. I was 15. Unfortunately, he was 25. I was a young little girl.
Okay. All right.
Coming from a different country, we came together to Philadelphia and then ended up in Delaware, his hometown.
Right.
Long story short, we never married. There was some issues that he couldn't battle, and I ended up going back home because I did not want my child growing up in that environment. So I went back to my country. And, unfortunately, I couldn't get any child support at that time because I did not have a social security number to fight anything, and my English was not that good. So then when I came back later on to the United States with my husband, my daughter's father, I decided, let me see if I can do a blood test so he can be enforced to pay child support. And when we did try to speak through the phone before we went to court, he said, look, he's not my son. There's no way. I said, look, we both know. But if you want to go to the courts, let's go to the courts, And so I went ahead and pursued the court. And with that, being the fact that he was the father,
how many years, Mary, how many years was he in the military? Does he get a veteran's pension?
Yes, he did, I believe, a total of 15 years in the military.
So he gets a veteran's pension. Why isn't that being garnissered?
Yeah, that's new information.
I mean, has Delmarva's Anchorman solved this problem here? Is that possible?
Jay,
he's got a military pension.
He just got out of the military after 13 years of serving his country. And, then he worked for Pepsi Cola. That's when I was still living there in Claymont, Delaware at the time with him. He just, did some jobs, side jobs, to make ends meet.
Right.
And as I stated, I was very young at the time, so I was a young mom, and he was working whatever job he could get, but he got out of the Army and he never retired. He did 13 years. I believe he was an E6 at that time.
Okay.
And he just never, I guess didn't want to pursue paying child support. And I tried, I sent updated letters and pictures to mom and, the grandmother and to the father, and never got a response in 10 years. And then when I came back stateside, to my birth father, he's American, and then my husband as well, I decided, what, my English is getting better. Let me see what I can do to get the blood test done and, at least see if my son can benefit in some way. It would help us financially because we did have a child. My current husband and I had another child together. So now I ended up with having 2 children, and I worked, and my husband at the time worked as well. And we said, it's not fair. I mean, he is his son, and he has every right to visit his son. I don't have a problem. I'm not denying his son to him, but he's not trying to even support in any way,
Very, very sad, Mary. That very sad. It's very sad for all of you, for your whole family.
That
obviously.
was ordered by the state at the time, the minimum payment of child support, because we didn't know if he was working or not at that time. So they ordered the minimum payment, which was, I believe, it was at that time $250 a month, and still nothing. So throughout my son's life of 33 years. I got a payment every now and then for like $40, then $60, then $12, and in years, like maybe 15 years, nothing. And then all of a sudden, I did get a check, which really surprised me. When the COVID hit, they did garnish one of his stimulus checks, and I was in shock. Because I had no idea
Ted,
where did all this extra money come from.
Ted knows that those stimulus checks were going to be attached for back child support.
And there was a lot of surprised custodial parents when we were able to intercept those COVID.
So I did receive one, and after that it stopped, and they said, I think it was something on the news that was broadcasted that they were not going to garnish any stimulus checks anymore, which it's fine. But then afterwards, nothing. It went back to freeze, and nothing after that, no more. And I said,
we need to wrap the call up. But with Sarah.
So I mean, Jake, you made a good point about the military. We'll certainly look into that. On my way back north, I will be making a couple phone calls.
Oh boy, Ted's going to be busy on that.
And and then we can certainly follow up with the employer in the state of New York.
Thank you.
Yep. And
I tried to see if it would be easier to move the case to New York now that he resides there, but the Delaware state of Delaware did recommend just to leave it there now because it's been in Delaware ever since I came back to the United States when my son was 10 years old. So
and that may actually be something that we look at if we're having difficulty trying to get some information on this particular person. It may be the best move is to get the state of New York involved and see if they can have any better luck trying to locate.
Mary, I thank you for calling in all the way from El Paso. But
I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much, and thanks for all you guys do. Stay blessed.
Thank you, Mary. God bless you, and please wish your son the best for us. Okay.
Thank you very much. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
You as well. My friends, model railroads are a year-round hobby, and Seaside Hobbies in Ocean View is your local model railroad headquarters. Open year-round with the latest technology in all scales, including repairs, which is why I'm going to be visiting them soon, with scale model kits, collectibles, and antique trains stocked wall-to-wall. Visit the shop located on Daisy Avenue in Ocean View, where you will find Lionel, Lifelike, and American Flyer. Also receive a 10% discount when you mention WGMD. That's Seaside Hobbies on Daisy Avenue, Ocean View. We'll wrap things up with Ted in just a moment on the Talk of Delmarva, 92.7, 98.5.